Far out on the glittering waters of the Caribbean, a family sails on their private yacht, basking in what feels like the perfect vacation. Laughter fills the air as Julia, the mother, dives into the cool blue sea for a refreshing swim. The water is calm, but soon she senses something unsettling brushing against her. She scans the endless horizon, but nothing is there. Convinced it's only her nerves, she tries to relax. Then, it happens again, stronger this time. Fear takes over, and Julia begins swimming toward the yacht. Suddenly, something clamps onto her leg, pulling her under. She thrashes violently, gasping and screaming for help. But Cassie, her teenage daughter, is lost in her music, headphones blocking out the cries. Tom, Julia's husband, and Ben, their young son, are preoccupied with fishing lines, oblivious to her struggle. Julia's strength begins to fade, her voice breaking as seawater fills her lungs. At last, Tom notices her absence. Panic strikes, he scans the yacht, then spots her flailing in the distance. Without hesitation, he orders the children to stay alert, steers the yacht closer, and dives into the sea. Reaching Julia, he wraps his arms around her, forcing her above the waves. Together, they fight back toward the yacht. With the children's help, Tom hauls Julia aboard. Shivering and trembling, she claims it must have been a sudden current. That night, the family gathers to celebrate Ben's birthday with cake and presents, laughter masking the unease of the earlier scare. Later, Cassie takes a video call from her boyfriend. He shows her ominous storm clouds rolling over the city before the connection glitches and cuts out. Alarmed, Cassie rushes inside, but Tom assures her it's only weak reception. Just then, an eerie sound echoes across the waves. The family steps outside and watches in awe as a pod of whales glides by. Tom explains that whales navigate with Earth's magnetic field, but storms can distort it, driving them dangerously off course. Suddenly, the yacht jolts violently, sending Ben crashing to the floor. Fearing damage, Tom dives beneath the waves to inspect. He resurfaces moments later, bleeding from a nasty gash on his shoulder. Julia rushes to stitch him up as he explains he felt a massive presence nearby before being slashed by the propeller. Something large is lurking, but unseen. Worse, the yacht has sustained serious damage. Julia attempts the radio, and Cassie frantically waves her phone, but there's no signal. Tension heightens when Cassie screams at a shadowy figure, only to find it's Ben wearing a prank mask. Their nerves don't ease. Soon the yacht sputters and dies completely, leaving them stranded in the middle of nowhere. Julia hears faint static on the radio, but the voice is garbled and indistinct. Tom calculates they have only 4 days of food and water. As they consider their options, the radar suddenly pings with movement. Strange sounds ripple through the air. They rush outside and witness fiery objects streaking across the sky, slamming into the earth with thunderous impact. A blazing sphere crashes into the sea nearby. Tom frantically tries restarting the yacht, but another flaming mass slams into the water. Clutching each other in terror, the family realizes these aren't meteorites, they're falling satellites. Smoke soon rises from the engine, it's beyond repair. The compass spins wildly, the winds howl, and the yacht lurches violently. Ben falls again, bruised and shaken. Battling the storm, Tom fights his way outside to grab life jackets. Darkness engulfs them as power cuts out. Tom restores emergency lights, but Julia begins bleeding from her nose, dizzy and weak. Cassie vomits as the air grows oppressive. A shrill, unnatural noise pierces their ears while the storm rages. Julia struggles to keep the doors closed as windows shatter. Tom strikes a flare, red light cutting through the chaos, before everything goes black. At dawn, they wake in disbelief. The yacht is wrecked but they are alive. Stepping outside, their jaws drop. The ocean is gone. The once endless sea is now a barren desert of cracked seabed. Ben plays with the bodies of dead crabs while Tom checks the compass. It confirms the impossible. Earth's magnetic poles have reversed, something not seen in over 700,000 years. Cassie collapses in despair, realizing her boyfriend and countless others are likely dead. She isolates herself, shoving her mother away when Julia tries to comfort her. Meanwhile, Ben ties his birthday balloons to a rock, hoping someone, anyone, might see them. Then, a miracle, Tom manages to contact someone over the radio. A man introduces himself as now captain of a stranded submarine. He explains the pole reversal drained the oceans, drowning continents instead. He hasn't found survivors. Communications are shattered. His partner is dead, but his vessel still has room for 3. The seas will return violently in days. He advises the family to climb higher ground and gives them his coordinates. Tom calculates it will take 2 to 3 days to reach him. That night, the family steels themselves for the journey. The next morning, as they pack supplies, a figure limps toward them, a ragged man with a barking dog and a harpoon. Tom offers water, but the stranger lashes out, smashing the bottle against him before plunging the harpoon into his stomach. Julia screams in horror as Tom convulses, then collapses, throat slashed. The madman turns his attention to her, chasing and wounding her shoulder. Julia barely escapes to the yacht, locking the children in hiding. She arms Cassie with the flare gun and takes a knife for herself. The intruder breaks in, ransacking the yacht. Julia crawls out a broken panel, but the dog attacks her. With no choice, she kills it. The man finds his companion's corpse and breaks down in anguish, then resumes hunting Julia. He catches her, beating and choking her violently. Just before she loses consciousness, Cassie bursts out and fires the flare gun directly into him. Flames erupt, spreading across the yacht. Julia snatches the map and supplies as the children cling to Tom's lifeless body for one last goodbye. The yacht explodes as they flee into the wasteland. Their trek across the dried ocean floor is grueling. At a waterfall, Ben feels guilty, believing his balloons drew the stranger. Julia reassures him it wasn't his fault. But danger still stalks them. The crazed man isn't far behind. They encounter carcasses of sharks, toxic waste, and mountains of ocean trash. Ben begins collapsing from dehydration. When Julia discovers their water is gone, spilled by Cassie's mistake, mother and daughter erupt into a furious argument. They push on, eventually finding a downed plane. Inside, Julia finds a photo of Tom and breaks down. Cassie asks for the story of how her parents fell in love. Julia recounts how Tom once arrived at her hospital injured and wooed her with flowers and poetry. That night, Cassie slips outside to relieve herself, only to be ambushed by the madman. Julia intervenes, stabbing him relentlessly in a frenzy of grief. The following morning, his corpse is crawling with fleas. Crabs spill from his mouth, confirming something monstrous is stirring beneath the surface. As the family presses on, Ben nearly poisons himself drinking stagnant water. Exhausted, they improvise a shelter from discarded chairs. Julia treats Ben's fever as night falls. At dawn, a chittering swarm approaches, thousands of crabs advancing like a tide. The family flees, stumbling upon a cargo ship. They spot surviving crew but are denied entry. Forced to climb containers, Julia is injured as the swarm closes in. Crabs invade the ship, slaughtering the crew. Julia collapses from blood loss in the chaos. She awakens during a sandstorm, alone. Panicked, she arms herself before reuniting with Cassie and Ben. Together, they discover more supplies, including a weapon and a working radio. Julia contacts Now, who warns that abyssal creatures, driven mad by oxygen, are spreading. Worse, the seas will return within hours, not days. He fires a flare to guide them. The family pushes through collapsing terrain, dodging rock slides. Julia forces the kids onward, sacrificing herself to hold back the swarm. Cassie refuses to leave her behind. With sheer willpower, Julia climbs to safety, and together they reach the submarine. Now, mortally wounded, insists the children take the vessel. The family scrambles aboard as crabs overrun him. Inside, they seal the hatch. Through the windows, they watch the swarm close in, until the ocean roars back, swallowing everything. Waves pummel the submarine, tossing it violently. Julia envisions flashes of their ordeal as Cassie vomits, overwhelmed. A piercing sound knocks them unconscious. When they awaken, they are alive. They climb out to discover the submarine washed ashore in the ruins of a drowned city. The world is broken, but hope remains. They stand together, knowing survival is possible, and that their journey is only beginning. Make sure to subscribe and turn on notifications so you don't miss more incredible stories like this. Thanks for watching.